Hello and welcome to day two. Day two already. Wow, how time flies when we're having so much fun together. Indeed, it only seemed like yesterday when I was last with you. Actually, it was only yesterday when I was last with you. However, it is wonderful to be back with you again. Day two, reflections from the study. I'm in the study. I have a cup of coffee. This time it's a warm cup of coffee. It's by my side. And I am going to be sharing some thoughts, some words of wisdom, some reflections from the Gospel of St. Mark. And I'm going to make some videos and upload them to YouTube. Now, I don't know why I told you that, because you'll know that. You'll be watching this on YouTube. So just disregard that last statement. But these videos, as I said, are going to be based on St. Mark. There are 4 Gospels in our Bible: Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Mark is the shortest and it is the earliest. And I will continue these daily broadcasts while this pandemic and lockdown continues. And I just want to say just a few words. I'm just kind of going off at a tangent here and say a few words about this pandemic. Now, probably like me, you will be tuning in and watching our 2 political leaders, Nicola Sturgeon and Boris Johnson, when they're sharing their daily broadcast with us. Now, when I tuned in last night, the main message from both of them is that we need to take individual responsibility to make sure that not only are we safe, but the people that we come into contact with are also safe. And one of the worrying things about this pandemic is that we could actually be carrying the virus without knowing. So therefore, if we were to go out and about, we could unintentionally be spreading the virus to neighbours, to family, to shop workers, to people that we pass in the street. So I understand where our governments are coming from when they say stay at home. Stay at home, don't mix, don't circulate, don't meet together in parks and on beaches, exercise once a day at the most. Well, that one I'm actually okay with. I'm quite comfortable with that. But fundamentally, this is also important because our National Health Service staff and those frontline workers, if they fall victim to the virus, this situation is going to get much worse. So it is a worrying time. It's an unsettling time. It's become our new normality, which that in itself is just surreal. So stay safe, stay at home, and tune in Cullen and Deskford YouTube videos. And the other thing I wanted to say about that is that the longer this pandemic lasts for, the more of these videos I need to make. So if you could do me a favour, everybody in the world, if they were to do me a favour, stay at home, self-isolate, low profile, hopefully we will overcome this pandemic and get back to some semblance of normality, and I can therefore stop making videos. One of the other things I want to say, so enough of that, but one of the other things I wanted to say before I continue going on about Mark and my ramblings is that well, I've forgotten actually, what was I going to say? Oh, yes, one of the other things I was going to say about yesterday's video was that I was very conscious that there were fuzzy bits down the side. I have no idea why there were fuzzy bits down the side. I am not a professional video maker. I have no expertise in that field. I have absolutely no expertise in any field, but nevertheless, I'm pretty limited when it comes to making videos. So if somebody out there knows why I got fuzzy lines down that first video, could you let me know? And indeed, there is every strong possibility that today's video will also have funny lines or fuzzy lines down the side as well as the middle. But you know what? In the scheme of things, that's not really that important. I'm sure you got the gist of what I was saying yesterday, and hopefully you'll get the gist of what I'm trying to say today. The other thing I want to mention, I kind of, I go off piste at times because a thought gets me, and then I come back to it and say, what was I talking about? But one other thing before I go on and talk about the thing that I'm supposed to be talking about, and it's going back to Nicola and to Boris. I am very aware that when they present their narrative, they are very smartly dressed, they are in nice surroundings, they look incredibly professional. So I have made an effort in that I have ironed a shirt today. So I am sitting here in my comfy chair with my coffee by my side in an ironed shirt to do my bit. And I want to do that in order to hook people in so that they will continue to watch these videos. But do not think that I will be ironing shirts every single time that I'm doing a broadcast. There is a strong possibility that tomorrow I will be in my pyjamas, and I will be very comfortable being in my pyjamas. And if that disturbs you, and I would imagine that there will be a few people out there who could well feel a bit uncomfortable seeing me in my pyjamas, then it's not really my problem. Do you know what I'm saying? It'll be your problem. And finally, before I go on and talk about the kind of stuff that I'm supposed to be talking about, well, let me have a sip of coffee and then I'll come back and talk about that, the thing that I'm supposed to be talking about. The other thing I wanted to say was thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I want to say thank you, cheers. Oh, it's warm today, for all the thumbs up. That was really, really appreciated, and I loved it. Just all those thumbs up. Well done, you're doing a great job. Super, super, super. And it's not only people from the local Cullen community who have given the thumbs up, but people from across the world, as far away as Tasmania. So I want to say, hello, Tasmania. I love you. I missed you. Please continue to watch Cullen and Deskford in the YouTube channels and go out. Actually, let me take that back. Do not go out, stay at home, but phone your friends and say, you must watch this profound man who is talking about Cullen and Deskford on a YouTube channel. You need to go and watch this guy. And maybe at the end of all of this, I will have, instead of maybe having 400 people attending the church on a Sunday morning, I could have 4,000 people attending the church on a Sunday morning. So watch this space. Anyway, so a short reflection on Mark's Gospel. Now, you can't do that in 2 minutes, so I'm going to break it up into verses, and we're going to go through the whole of the book in the course of time. Now, these talks are going to be incredibly basic, very simplistic, because I'm a simple kind of guy. So there may well be people who are going to be tuning into me, and so thank you for tuning into me. Give me a thumbs up. But they might be listening to and saying to themselves, "What? I know this. I mean, how basic can you actually be?" I can be very basic. What I'm trying to do is to reach out to people who have no knowledge of the Bible, or very little knowledge of the Bible, or of Gospels, or what they mean and where it all comes from and what it's all about. So if there are people who are tuning in and then switch off after about 30 seconds, well, thank you for the 30 seconds, but I would imagine that there will be more profound and maybe more educational and stimulating and challenging religious videos out there in the world. So, but thank you for your time. But really, I really want to be speaking to people who are curious during these strange times in which we live. Curious, if nothing else, curious about what the Bible is and what specific books in the Bible are all about. Now, I'm going to reach down here because I've got some Bibles here, and the first Bible is this wee red Bible. It's a Gideons Bible, and when I was at primary school about 100 years ago, all my classmates were given this Bible, the Gideons Bible, free. And I never got anything free in my life when I was a child. But so getting a Bible was, oh, whoop, whoop, whoop. But what do you do with it? Well, obviously it's a book. And I remember taking it home and opening it. You always start, I was used to reading Enid Blyton books then. And with Enid Blyton books, you open at page 1 and you start to read, then you get to the end page and you've read the book. So I opened the Bible, my Gideons Bible, at page 1. And I started to read. Two things I noticed straight away. The print in my Gideons Bible was so small, and I had perfect vision back then, but the print was so small that you needed a pair of binoculars to read what was on the page. And the second thing which I picked up as a 10-year-old was that it was completely boring. It just did not hook me in because I had no idea what it was I was reading. So having opened the Gideons Bible, the wee red Bible, I promptly then put it into a drawer, and there it gathered dust and was never taken out again. And for all I know, it's probably still in that drawer, gathering even more dust. I have got a collection of Bibles in my study, but there are two other Bibles that I want to show you, and I'm picking them up now. This one, and this one is a bit dusty. I'll just wipe the dust. There we go. The giveaway is Holy Bible. There you go. Now, this Bible is known as the King James Version. This is the Bible which maybe your grandparents or great-grandparents, or certainly your great-greats, would have had at home. And it's a book full of strange words like ye's and thous and begots and begats and begoras. It's a language we do not use today, but it is very poetical, and there are some churches and there are still some individuals who feel that the King James Version is the only true and authentic version of the Bible. I'm going to close it and put it down. I don't necessarily agree with them. And this Bible here is a more up-to-date version. All these Bibles are saying the same thing, but they're just different versions, different ways of translating the original kind of languages into English. Now, this is called the Good News Version. And one of the things that's quite nice about it is that it's got wee illustrations. It's got wee pictures. Can you see the wee pictures? There you go. I like a book with pictures. You know, it helps you to understand what they were saying. So there's lots of versions of the Bible. King James Version, which I just showed you, the Good News Version, the Revised Standard Version. Regardless of the version of the Bible, they are more or less got the same message in them. So that's the first thing. Now, the Bible is split into two sections. One is called the Old Testament, and one is called, guess, well done, the New Testament. Testament means promise, the old promises, and then the new promises. Now, here is one which is quite good for pub quizzes. If you can remember the number 39, 39, think of the 39 Steps by John Buchan. So that's the number of books in the Old Testament, 39 books. Now, if you multiply 3 by 9, you'll get, when I was at school, 27. And 27 is the number of books in the New Testament. So if you don't get anything else from these talks, at least you can take that one away. Remember, the 39 Steps by John Buchan, that's the number of books in the Old Testament. Multiply 3 by 9, you'll get 27, and that's the number of books in the New Testament. Now, the other thing I want to mention about the Bible is, so there's my Good News Bible. There we go. This is known, Bible means book. And there's a wee bit of a lie there, because the Bible isn't one book, as I've just explained, but numerous books. 66 books are in the Bible. So it's not one book. So therefore it seems silly when I was a child to start at page 1 of Genesis and read through, which I didn't actually, but if I had read through, thinking that I was reading an Enid Blyton novel, and eventually I would get to the end, that wouldn't make sense. What would make sense is if you take a book, one of the 66 books in the Bible, and just read that. And that is a book. But all the books are different. So we have books of poetry in the Bible. We have books of wisdom. We have letters, letters that people used to write back in the day, Dear Auntie Betty, how are you? Missing you. We are enjoying the sunshine here in Blackpool. Love to you all. See you soon. I just had to press something there in my camera, so I don't know if that came up. I'll try and edit that out. So the Bible is a collection of 66 books, all very different. So what I'm going to do in these series of videos that I'm making is I'm going to be looking at Mark's book. Let's call it a book, because basically that's what it is. Now, one of the other things about the Bible is that if you opened any page in the Bible, there's lots of numbers. So there's often a big bold number, let's say number 1. And then there are weird numbers, like a wee 1, and then there's a wee 2, and a wee 3, and a wee 4. Now, the big bold number is the chapter number. So if I was to say to someone in the church, I want you to read from Mark's Gospel, so that's the book, Mark. I want you to read from Mark's Gospel, chapter 3, verse 1 to verse 13. Then they should know exactly the passage that they need to read from, because it makes it pretty easy when everything is numbered. Obviously, back in the day, there would have been no chapters, there would have been no numbers. It was just a piece of writing on a sheet of paper. So maybe one of the questions that you're asking me, because I am using my telepathy, is why were the Gospels written? So I'm going to tell you. You just have to kind of follow me in this one. But there was a man called Jesus, and I think there is enough evidence to know or to say that Jesus was a real person. He walked and he talked, and he was a man who lived on earth for a period of time. He was crucified, which was the Roman way of doing things back in the day, and he died from the crucifixion, and he was buried like most dead people. And here's the kind of the thing that for some people is really, really difficult to understand. After he had died, he came back to life. And he met with people, and these meetings are recorded in this Bible. And he was with people for a number of days. And he said to them after a period of days, he says, look, I'm going to go away, but I will return to be with you permanently, if you like. So people thought he would be back like next Tuesday or by the weekend. So they stopped doing things. It was like it's like this pandemic. People stayed at home and they gave up work and they, they watched the telly and they just stopped doing everything because they thought, well, what's the point of doing anything? Because Jesus is going to come back and he's going to take us to heaven and you're going to do wonderful things. But weeks then passed into months, passed into years, and then those original witnesses, those people who had actually met and shared a meal with Jesus, were getting older, and some of them were beginning to die. So some individuals thought, look, maybe Jesus isn't going to come back next weekend. Maybe he will come back later. Maybe not even in our lifetime, but he will come back at some stage. So they started to record some of the stories which Jesus had shared with them. So that's basically, very simplistically, of course, how the Gospels started to be written. So I'm going to be looking at Mark's Gospel. And if you're going to be following these videos, I should have said actually, I'm hoping to have these videos uploaded by tea time each day. So, by 6 p.m. when you're sitting down for your fish and chips, by about 6 p.m. I should be on here. And if not, I've slept in or whatever. So it would be good if you're going to follow it. If you've got a Bible, get your Gideons Bible that's in that drawer gathering dust. So I'm going to be reading the first few verses of Mark's Gospel from the Good News version, which is modern English, if you like. So this is what it says. It begins with a heading, the preaching of John the Baptist. Now, John the Baptist was Jesus' big cousin. Now, just accept that. He was his big cousin. He was a strange guy. He was pretty unique. He kind of broke away from the community in which he lived, and he was baptizing people, a kind of ritual, if you like, down by the River Jordan. And people flocked out to the desert where John was living, because they thought that this guy was really holy, a holy man. He was a man sent by God, and they wanted to